My guest for AM Talk this morning, Fuseni Issa, is a member of parliament for Kankwe North. Thanks for joining me, Fuseni.
Yeah.
How are you? It's been a while I've seen you, about a couple of weeks now.
You see,
I see that you've been resting.
Not resting, we've been on the job. You know, actually, governance itself is not.
You see, which of the committees are you in parliament?
I'm on finance and I'm foreign affairs. It's quite a busy.
That's why you look immaculate in your suits.
Oh, thank you.
Foreign affairs and finance, no wonder. But we have a ranking for the Mines and Energy Committee, and Adam Mutawakilu is a member of parliament for Damango. Gallos, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Great.
My brother.
Yesterday, you were reverberating around in this media talking about AMERI deal, etc.
Yeah.
And well, it's the first thing we'll be talking about, though. I hear the deal was wrong, and the NDC dominated parliament under John Dramani Mahama at the time, who was the head of the executive. They passed the deal free. Now it's a big problem.
Is it a problem?
Is it not?
Because if a document came to Parliament and it is passed unanimously, no side raises issue, so you don't call it President Mahama or NDC agreement. The hazard is there. Anybody who wants to verify could easily get it to see what was the contribution of members in the passage of the power purchasing agreement. It was unanimous. And as we speak, we have no clear evidence as to what makes it wrong. And that's what I'm indicating. Is it because they mention an amount, build, own, operate, and transfer? And when we were entering into the agreement, we had various presentations from the technocrats, going for build, own, operate, and transfer, going to buy direct or renting. It became clear that the direct means you have to go for a loan. And if you go for a loan facility, there will be interest on it. So we had to calculate all that and agreed on the build, own, operate, and transfer. And one of the critical factors we look at is what we call the tariff. What will be the cost to the consumer? And the levelized tariff is about 11 cents per kilowatt hour. As we speak, it's one of the lowest, AMERI and Car Power. All the rest are about 15, 16, some are even 27 cost to the consumer. And that is what I'm raising. If you have issues with AMERI, which costs the consumer 11 cents per kilowatt hour, how about Sunan Asogli? How about T3 plan? That costs about 15, 17 cents per kilowatt hour. Two, the MPP, after the passage, the party itself came out with its own version. And therefore, immediately after election, a committee was set up, the Addison Committee. In the course of their investigation, they went to Dubai, did their investigation. The former Minister of Power and the deputy both expressed their willingness to provide them with information. They said they didn't need them and that they could get the information on their own. All of a sudden, a U-turn, the former Minister of Power's house was raided, and we thought that was not necessary. It was a sort of...
and the NDC literally is up in arms.
No, but that
because
he is not a
former
fugitive.
Minister of Power's house
he's not
has been visited by the CIA.
He's not a fugitive. He has always been willing to provide information. Why should you raid his house door? Is he running away? No. He's not running away. He has always expressed his willingness to be part of the process in finding out whatever they are looking for. So by raiding his house, I see it as quite unfortunate, and that Rambo style should stop. Two, Honorable K.T. Hammond raised issues, and that he was bringing it to Parliament for rescission. I'm the ranking. The first thing was to call him. And I'm sure, and I know, the former Minister of Power, Honorable Kwabena Donkor, called him. The former Deputy Minister of Power, Honorable Jinapo, called him. That if he has some additional information which he feels that what we did in the previous parliament was not good, he should make it available to us. And as ranking, I discussed with the members from the minority side that Monday, Tuesday yesterday, 10 o'clock, we should meet so that the information he provides to us, we'll look at it passionately and take a decision. Because at the end of the day, it's to the benefit of Ghanaians. If we see that, okay, what was done, the additional information that has come out will not to the benefit of Ghanaians. We are representing them, and so we will do. Unfortunately, yesterday, no document had been given to the minority side for us to have the other revealed information that they have, so that when the motion is moved in Parliament, we'll be able to contribute meaningfully to that motion. As we speak, we don't have any information from them. Now, there are issues that are coming up. One, and I know with time we'll clear it, whether the previous Parliament decision can be rescinded by current Parliament. This, since I came to Parliament, this is the first time it's happening, whether we need majority decision, and that is 2/3. That's about 183 members to be able to rescind that decision. And you need to engage both sides. Parliament is about engagement, and it's about documentation, making the documents available to be able to convince your colleagues to listen to you and to cite your decision. As we speak, I cannot say we are either supporting or not supporting, because there's nothing before it. And if, as far as I know, is the previous agreement that I still have in-depth information about. And no other further information provided contrary to that agreement that we entered. And we, as the days go by, will come to light, and they will take a decision on that. But we must know that today, if we decide to rescind, what will be the economic loss if AMERI decide that, okay, we are not providing power? Because the 225 megawatts, if it is taken off today, will be in Dumso. There will be an economic loss. Companies will have to shut down. And if it should shut down for 2 months, what will be the loss compared to this, what they are claiming to? 2, how about if they take legal and we have a judgment debt coming up? Because AMERI has not breached any of the conditions in the agreement. There has not been anywhere we said, okay, they have breached part of the agreement. As a result, we are doing this. What happens if they take it to court and it results in the fact that there's judgment debt coming? This is all what we have to look at. Thirdly, what will be its effects to investors coming to invest in the power sector? So all these things are those things we look at broadly in arriving at a decision.
I see. Honorable Hussein, interesting points that Gallows seems to have raised, of course, Adam Mutawakilo, as it's formally called. You have any comments on these and any other issues as far as this concern of AMERI and the house of the former Minister of Power being visited by the security agencies?
Well, let me say a good morning to our cherished viewers and, of course, to my constituents in the country. We are back to AMERI. I remember a couple of weeks when I came here was still AMERI, and AMERI is still in the news. There are two issues that brought us back to this AMERI issue. The first one, the house of the former Minister for Power being raided in quotes. Well, I have had issues like as a member of parliament, he enjoys some immunity and his what rights were trampled upon and all that. But I don't really share those views. Reason why I don't share is that as a member of parliament, you have those immunities on your way to and from your duties in parliament. I'm sure Adams or Gallows will correct me if I'm wrong.
But when
In this
Parliament
case,
is in session,
in this case,
yeah.
in this case, or when Parliament is in session, in
Yeah.
this case, the police actually went to his home with a
And
valid
you're saying he doesn't
warrant.
enjoy immunity there?
Oh, if he was arrested, if he was molested or something, but they had gone there with a search warrant, and he wasn't manhandled. He himself came up to say the police were very professional. They dealt with him as a, so I don't really see. I wouldn't find anything wrong if the police had a prima facie case and they came to my house to do some investigations. I hope that the minority will allow some of these things to pass for us to look at the real deal. The other case is that the former...
Please, let me just hold you there. We have on the line energy expert Kojo Poku. Good morning to you, Mr. Kojo Poku. Mr. Kojo Poku, good morning to you. Mr. Kojo Poku, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. And I don't know whether you've been hearing about the concerns being raised, particularly about the AMERI deal that was passed by the last parliament, but also some questions being posed to the former Minister of Power and how that has some ramifications on the entire deal in itself, and the concerns also being raised about its ramifications on power generation, etc. Your own thoughts?
Yeah, good morning, and good morning to your panelists and your viewers. I hope I'm very clear.
You are.
Okay. Basically, we've always said that this AMERI deal, and I mean, then when it was passed through Parliament and the government signed into the agreement, it would have been very difficult to abrogate it. The only way to abrogate it is if you are to find criminality with the whole transaction. And the committee that was formed and the report that came out, some of us said that, look, that committee and their report did not hold water. You know, just to cite other contracts with somebody in a different jurisdiction and to come and say that because you see that they've signed a deal cheaper somewhere, you could get it cheaper, so you want to renegotiate or you abrogate the deal, you do that, they'll take you to court and get judgment there. So the only way the government can abrogate that deal is if they are to find criminality with the player. And as we've rightly seen in the papers, they've gone after the deputy minister, so the minister at that time, Mr. Kwamna Donkor, Honorable Kwamna Donkor. They've gone after Francis Jatta. These are the key players who negotiated and did this transaction. So what the government is trying to do is to find an element of criminality. Whether they'll be successful in trying to establish criminality, that is a whole different story. I am of the view that they should have a commission of inquiry with the High Court judge sit on it and subpoena individuals who were part of this deal and take testimony under oath, so that if they lie and later it is found that they lied, they can perjure themselves. That is how we will now get the facts of what actually happened. To me, that's the way to go. I mean, whether you can go to somebody's house, pick laptop, and get any information, I don't know what they know, but I think it's more of a bit of a wild goose chase at this point.
Then what's the best advice you will give to the Minister of Energy then?
Well,
beyond,
like I have just mentioned, to me, you see, some of us talk to the people involved privately. Things they tell us, we are not able to repeat them. So I know that something untoward happened. But to establish that, it is not for me to tell them. It is them to basically subpoena these people, put them under oath, and then question them. Because you see, the most tricky part is this. There are two companies, Medca, which is the company now in Ghana doing the work, and AMERI. The question everybody should ask is that Medca and AMERI, who came to Ghana first? Medca came to Ghana first before AMERI. But guess what? The deal was signed with AMERI, and then later, Medca now came, and they are the ones in Ghana doing the work. So there's a lot of questions that need to be asked. But those questions can only be asked the right people under oath, so they don't lie. So if the committee they form, all those members of the committee, if you call them one by one under a commission of inquiry, swear them under oath, and ask them certain questions, you'll be amazed what you get out of them. Because the very important question is that AMERI and Medca, which one came to Ghana first?
Okay, but then it is not unusual to have some agreement like this in which we have a middle player that is doing some sort of facilitation, or
not at all. We do that all the time. But
So,
let me give you a typical example. I see my brother Honorable from Damango sitting. If he comes to me and tell me that, could you, I can sell you a shoe for 20 cedis. I don't buy the shoe from him. But then I come to you, and then you now tell me that, oh, could I can tell you a shoe for 40 cedis. Then you go back to the honorable and have a deal with the honorable for the shoe for 20 cedis and come and sell it to me for 40 cedis. How does that work out? There should be something wrong. Because if you want to buy the shoe...
It's not wrong. That sort of transaction is not wrong.
My brother, it is not wrong, but you should question it. You see, what they are charging the officials for is causing financial loss to the state. Causing financial loss means that you run the country and you have made us lost money. You have to establish that criminality. But the question is, why would one company come to you with a transaction? You don't deal with that company. You go and deal with a different company through that company to the first company that came to you. That is the question. I mean, I'm not saying that is wrong. I'm a businessman. I can do that anytime I want to do that. It's my own business. But when you run the affairs of Ghana and there's a law causing criminal loss to the state, causing a loss to the state, you should be careful. So all we have to do is to be just relax, see what they know. I am of the view that if they want to get to the bottom of this matter, going to people's houses with warrants is not going to help you.
Okay, just hold on. And since Adam Mutawakilu is ranking, and at the time I think was a deputy chair to the Mines and Energy Committee, he would want to respond.
As far as I'm aware, and in Parliament, by then I was vice chairman, there was nothing like medical lead before us, or expressing interest to.
Okay, so tell me, what role now is
let me now come. We have to be very careful when we have the developer and the one engaging. As we see it, early power, Medca is the one doing it.
Early power?
Yes, they have signed. You said the subcontractors are there. We have agreement with early power.
But it is
early power now engage Medca to do the construction. We have to be very. Amandi. We had an agreement with Amandi. It has engaged Medca to do the construction.
Okay.
So it's like you have won a contract from me. You decided to take a subcontractor to do it on your behalf. General Electric are not the main people who engage in the construction. You get it from them. They have the developer to come and do it. So you enter into subcontracts with them. That is why we are saying that if they can provide us with information.
But let me ask you, what about undertaking transactions in such a way that because you're dealing with the public and the state, and eventually whatever the cost buildup is will be transferred to the public, and because of the welfare nature of the interests of the public, by which it could ultimately mean they will be paying higher tariffs, you have to be mindful of value for money.
And that is why I first of all stated that let's look at the leveller's tariff of AMERI, and that is the cost to the customer or to the consumer, and that of the other IPPs, independent power producers.
That does not negate the quantum of the deal.
No, that is why
perhaps how we could have undertaken the transaction.
That is why we are looking for information. We ask them if you have additional information.
But for you as an MP or somebody who sat on the committee, you said there was nothing untoward.
No. As far as the information put before us. Two, if they have the information, and that's what he indicated, they have to go beyond proving and reasonable doubt there was criminality. If they can provide X with the information, I think everybody is for the betterment of Mother Ghana.
Mr. Kojo Poku.
Yes.
I do business development. I also have an agency, and so I call myself a communication consultant. I undertake activities for agencies that have bigger works with a USAID, etc. I do subcontracting. They pay me my money. I'm sure they may have collected a lot more money from USAID. USAID could have dealt with me directly. But that's how the deal is. What's wrong with that?
No, you see, what I'm saying to you is that if you approach USAID directly and told USAID about your services on a particular product, and USAID does not engage you, but rather they engage a middle person, and then the middle person now charges USAID more when the person at USAID knew that somebody has approached him or her and is offering the service less. That person is culpable.
Is that
the point?
Is that the scenario here? Is that the scenario here?
Let me land. Let's not bring in the issue that you just described. It happens every day, and me as a businessman, I do that every day.
Okay.
The point in question is this: when you know of a company offering the same service, and in fact that service, not the same service, offering that service to you cheaper, you do not engage that person. You choose to engage somebody else to go and engage that person and bill you at a much higher price. That is the problem in the AMERI deal. It is not about middlemen. Middlemen in business is well established. What we are saying is that the government of Ghana, or the players of government of Ghana at that point, knew about MEDCA.
All right.
They refused to deal with MEDCA directly. Instead, they dealt with AMERI on MEDCA equipment.
All right.
And the equipment did not belong to AMERI. They belong to MEDCA.
Mr. Kojopoku, so now you are saying that the government is on a wild goose chase, unless perhaps it can establish some criminality.
Well, my brother, I wouldn't call it a wild goose chase, but it's difficult the way they are going about it.
But it's the same thing, right? They are on a wild goose chase.
Well, your words, not mine. But what I'm saying is that it's difficult for them to establish the level of criminality they need for the honorable to go back to parliament and try to abrogate that deal. Because it's a parliamentary thing, and sometimes I think the honorable and his colleagues should help us. You see, they should have resource people. If they need to employ or even get some of us to work for them for free, we'll do that. When some of these things come, consult a wider populace or a wider jurisdiction so that we can make input to their committee. So that what we know, we can tell them.
Well, perhaps they may have consulted somebody else, not necessarily you, so it doesn't make it wrong, does it?
Well, it doesn't, but from what the Honorable is saying, he said that there was no available information. What was available to them at that time helped them pass the bill, and nobody will fault them. People go to parliament and present the MP with information that is very one-sided. And they don't have the time, because sometimes they are rushed through these committees. So they don't have the time to consult a wider. There's Google. There is all this information that people like us. Who can provide them with other information, but they are restricted in the timeline that they have to do this work.
All right.
That becomes a problem.
Okay, if it was you who was working with AMERI, you wouldn't have been raising these concerns, would you?
Well, the AMERI people made off with some good money. If I was with them and I've made off with good money, why would I complain? Because I'm not the one that have lost money.
Okay.
I'm still not complaining. Look, as a businessman, I wish I could have done that deal.
My last question, Mr. Kojopoku, and I've interviewed you a couple of times, so I know. But on the subjects of the government going about sending police people, investigators going to former ministers' houses, seizing computers, seizing their mobile phones, etc., and you are saying that they could have a better way of going about it, it means that the whole modus operandi by which they are going about retrieving information is wrong.
Oh, yes. I don't subscribe to that.
Okay.
I don't subscribe to macho-head.
All right.
And the whole idea of sending men to people's house at 6 o'clock in the morning and CID and all that is macho. And you see, politicians like grandiose approach to give their constituency a sense of doing something. There are better ways of doing these things and getting better results than just sending, because you see, they need to play to a gallery. And don't fault them. That is the whole idea of politics. They need to let their people know that they are doing something.
So you're saying that is what they are doing. They are just playing to the gallery. Nothing will come out of this. It will just be one of the...
I did not say nothing will come out of it. I'm saying that something could come out of it, but what you could achieve a much better result with a much quieter approach. The work of CID, you see, look, the element of surprise in investigation is the best of all things. So you raid KD's house on Monday. Don't you think if Gata has something to hide, he will also hide it before? Because if I am a conspirator in an issue and my colleague was raided, don't you think I'll clear my house? I mean, you have the CID people have to also think like criminals. If if they are. But if you are going to raid people in America or other jurisdictions, If they have a list of people to raid, they don't raid one and raid the other 2 days later. They raid everybody at once. So if you want to raid Francis Jatta, you raid him at the same time you raid KD. Honorable Kwabena, you don't raid them at 2 days. What signal do you think he'll be sitting in house waiting for you to come and collect?
Mr. Kojopoku, you said that the CID have to think like criminals. You're not saying that Honorable Donko and then
no,
Jatta were criminals.
I just corrected that when I said that. I said if you are a CID and you are operating, you have to basically think like criminals, because if you are going to somebody's house to raid the person and you want to have the necessary effect, you don't raid 2 people who you think they are conspirators. You don't raid their houses 2 days apart. I'm not saying anybody's a criminal. Please, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that the CID has to have their modus operandi right. And if they are learning from the jurisdiction that they are learning from, it is not done. If you think that Francis Jatta and Kwabena Donko has conspired to do something, you raid them at the same time.
Mr. Kojopoku, thank you for your contribution this morning. I've enjoyed them. I wish I could keep you back on the line for a long time, but I can't.
Yeah, on his last point, as to whether the raid or whatever we choose to call it should have been...
Was a raid somebody's house? You go there early in the morning. What is it?
With the warrant, I mean, how can
still,
it's
not a raid.
Right. Maybe from they went to Francis Jatta because of what they found at Kwabena Donko. You are not too clear at this point.
You know that for a fact?
I said maybe.
Or you are speculating?
It could be. I mean, he's also speculating, so it just could have been. But you see, back to the substantive issue on AMERI. The majority, or my side, have maintained that this deal was overpriced by a whooping $150 million, and that is what we are looking for. Yesterday on,
so the other paper, 360 million.
That's what is been established by our side. Yesterday on our other paper in Parliament, Honorable K.T. Hammond was going to move. He's going to move an urgent motion, and that motion, he says that there were some misrepresentations done whilst the deal was ongoing, and the extent to which it's going to affect or vitiate the contracts, we are all yet to see. He'll get opportunity to move his motion. I'm sure we'll get opportunity to debate on it. At that point, he's going to bring whatever new findings he has to the floor of the House. We're going to debate it, and the House is going to decide on it. I think that as a country, and the way this transaction went, and the scenario that we are creating, or we're describing, causing financial loss, it's something that is quite it's a serious thing to do. When we have the reins of government, or when we have the reins of power,
it's not been established.
It's not been established, but I'm just making a point. I think that we have a duty to the people of Ghana to ensure that the taxpayers' money, whatever, is used in the most judicious way. And for us to know that I could buy this item at X amount, but decides to go buy it at Y amount because of what will accrue to me, I think that's a case that we following. Whether or not it's a wild goose chase, we'll get there when this investigations progress. So I think that all parties should be quite patient. My senior here tells me that nothing untoward happened at the committee level. Fine, that's the information he has. But K.T. Hammond, then the ranking member, and he goes on to say that K.T. Hammond agreed to all this. Look, what happens in Parliament is that once you're in a committee, it's a collective decision. You sit in a committee, the committee decides something. What you can do is to make sure that your point or your opposition to whatever decision is being made is captured. And that one, they got the opportunity to go. I'm sure it is public record. When you go to the Hansard, it is there. Although the then minority had no choice but to go on with the deal, they would have reasons why they opposed to it. Look, last time when we were passing the budget, and this is part of the minority, they weren't wholly supportive of some of the policies in there. So they did state their points, and that is captured in the Hansard. Anybody goes there on the 30th of March or whatever date, you will see their opposition to it, but at the end of the day, they did approve it. So what's the qualms? He was a ranking member. A decision has been made. He has new information, and he thinks that there are new things to be uncovered within that deal. I think he's right. He says there were misrepresentation. Let's all be patient. He will bring out whatever misrepresentations he thinks there were, and then we'll follow this deal to its logical conclusion.
Then we'll move on to the
The $150 million is what we are looking for, and those found culpable should be held responsible.
But you see, you don't debate emotion without documentation. So is he waiting when?
In fact,
you have to provide us so that members can contribute meaningfully and take a unanimous decision.
But Adams, I thought you have all the information on America.
No, he said he has contrary information.
You have all the information on America.
We have the information. He has said he has gotten more new information contrary to what we approve. And we need that new information to compare to what we had and can take a decision. In committees, we can have majority decision and we can have consensus decision by committees. So it is not almost consensus. We've passed some agreement where the majority then decided that this one we are on this will not agree. And we have to present the report and the conclusion. We indicated that it was by majority decision.
This one, what was it?
No, we have passed several of them.
No, AMERI, what
in the
was
case
it?
of
No, for example, let me
in the
just
case
say,
of AMERI,
it was consensus. It was consensus.
There was consensus.
Nobody said there was.
Oh, even on the floor there,
on the floor.
Nobody opposed.
No, we have the hands out. Go and look for the hands
we
out.
would
Two,
check on the
you realize,
sir,
no.
sir.
The hands out is the recording, because the moment you say anything.
You may have followed the issues better. I remember at the time, the minority were raising questions.
Go and check 20th of March 2015.
Okay.
Now, the second one, 20th of March 2015.
I'll go to Parliament today.
The other one
20th of March 2015. Please
yes,
write it down.
when Ajako, the Minister for Energy, when we had
You mean Ejako?
Ejako, yes.
The Minister for Energy.
When he appeared before the vetting committee, there was a split. Minority said no way. So the earlier report was majority decision.
Right.
Now, for it to be polished, he had to come back and respond to some of the issues and clarify the issues before it became.
You see, ideally we want consensus.
It was majority decision.
And
because of the split, we had to go. It was.
But you're saying with AMERI at the committee level, it was consensus.
It was consensus, and that is why K.T. Hammond himself. That is why K.T. Hammond himself say, after a while, he's discovered that
on hindsight,
there are some other information that he has received that was not made available to us as at that time. And two, when we are engaging, like a power purchasing agreement referred to as, it's not taken in a day. One, we have the pressmen in Parliament, and they normally publish. They make it clear that a power purchasing agreement had been laid in Parliament. If you are an energy expert, just take interest.
Yes.
And don't wait to be approved.
Do you remember, Mr. Adam Mutawakilu, that ASAP, you know ASAP?
Yes.
They took great interest. They raised concerns about the way the transaction was going and thought that we didn't have value for money. Do you remember that?
Yes. And they were looking at the individual units.
Okay, I remember.
Yes, and what we call, that time I explained that you don't just go and buy the engine of a car until you have a car.
But they were raising concerns about the cost and saying that we didn't have the middlemen, so to speak.
They said it should be 220.
Yes.
Because there are 10 units.
Yes.
And we said these are units because we have to investigate.
Ultimately, all of it.
But they couldn't. No.
Increase the.
No, if you have the units, we have the balance of plant.
In fact, if you buy a larger quantity, the price should even come lower.
No,
shouldn't it?
We have the balance of plant.
Ideally, yes.
For example,
ideally, if you buy more
units, the unit is 220.
Individual units, it should come down. Price
but it depends on
you
what
are looking at. You are buying a whole. That is what I'm saying. You go and buy a car engine. The engine alone, 55,000.
But if I buy 10 engines,
no, what I'm saying, that engine alone cannot let the car, cannot run, because you need the body of the car. You need the tie, and that is what we call the balance of plant.
So that is what
in those things
that costs us additional $290 million.
I'm coming. If you take the balance of plant, the second question is, do we have the money to buy even if it is only the unit.
Well,
As government of
and
Ghana.
so what? So because of
So
the
you have to go for a commercial loan.
So the cost should go high.
No, let me say.
Is that a good response?
We are looking at several options.
Well, we're discussing this because we don't have money and we have to go for commercial.
No,
you see,
when
as a result of that, the money should go high. You are looking at
a situation where you have the luxury that I can decide to postpone it for 2 years. This is a case Dumsor is hitting us, and we are losing over 2 billion.
Are you saying that because we were desperate, we took desperate decisions?
No, it's not a desperate decision.
Now we're not in desperate times, so we have to take a relook at the agreement.
That is why I said we look at it from all angles. If we want to go in for a loan, when will we get the loan? What will be the interest rate on the loan? Where do we source it?
So AMERI came in handy.
So that is how we look at it.
And so we got overpriced by 150 million.
We look at the government ability to buy. If we don't have the resources, you have to now start hunting for a loan. How long will it take you to get that loan? If it is 6 months, that means you are losing 1 billion in the business sector. People are losing jobs. Then we look at the various options. Do we rent?
Look at the opportunity cost.
Let's rent.
So at the time there was.
If we decide that we don't have the money to buy.
Honorable, are you saying that opportunity cost should cost us $150 million?
Excuse me. That is why I'm relating. It's not 150 million. Let's go to the other company. Sogli, they've established a plant. They are operating it for 25 years. Mm-hmm. They are taking the cost per unit 15 cents per kilowatt hour for 25 years. Should we go and look at what was the cost of it and how much are they making over the 25 years? And that is why Honorable Kwabena Doko was calling for. If Asogli could establish a plant and operate it for 25 years with 15 cents per kilowatt hour over that period, and another plant comes 510 for 5 years, that it becomes your own.
So when
then
will
you operate it for the remaining.
Will this become
5 years? We should be able to clear.
That's 20 what?
We are already 2 years into 2015.
2020.
So it's left with some few more.
On 2020,
yes.
2021.
Then it becomes your own.
It becomes ours.
And 2, the cost is 11 cents per kilowatt hour.
You mean the generation cost?
That is the generation cost. Okay. The tariff.
The tariff.
It's 11 cents, levelized 11 cents per kilowatt hour.
And you are saying that.
So that is why we are making the.
We are saying that even if you are getting AMERI for 9 cents per kilowatt hour, we are saying that the original contract was overpriced. And if we had factored all of that in there, that is what is coming up.
Evidence.
That is what is coming up.
And we don't have the documents for now to be able to prove your reasonable.
Relax. Sir,
yeah.
Now let me ask you.
Yeah.
You go to people's homes, you have warrants, the former minister, you have the technocrat that facilitated the agreement, perhaps they traveled, they did the discussions, etc. But you have nothing incriminating. You have more speculative than incriminating, an agreement that statutorily has been signed between the government of Ghana and a body, and for which, if we don't take care, we're going to slum into that period or atmosphere of judgment debt. And we seem to be going about this not the right way, according to Kojo Poku, for example.
I don't agree with you, because look, the police actually went to the homes of these two gentlemen, and investigations are ongoing. I don't think that we should speculate too much as to what the police found or what they didn't find. Investigations are still ongoing. Let's give the police the opportunity to complete whatever investigations they are on. But you see, the flip side is that there's so many things that makes a contract valid. Even capacity to sign a particular contract. If you don't have the capacity to sign a particular contract, and you sign that contract, it vitiates the contract ab initio.
No, and this year, you are relating to what?
No, I'm just saying that it could vitiate a contract.
Criminality. That's a normal standard practice.
Criminality, like Kojo was saying. If it is found that there was some elements
of... But nothing has been found so far.
So nothing has been found, but the investigations are ongoing.
He's saying that the way we're going, we could end up not.
That is his view.
And just worry people's reputations for nothing.
That is his view.
But I'm sure it's a grave concern. He's an expert in the sector.
Certainly, but I'm sure that the police didn't just wake up one morning and thought that, in fact, let's go to the house of Honorable Kojo Donko and go and
Kwabena
raid his house.
Donko.
Kwabena Donko and go and raid his house. They must have moved on some investigation or some information that they had at the time.
Just
So
like,
investigations are still ongoing.
Just like Addison Committee promised, they
The investigations are still ongoing.
They couldn't
You
do
don't forget about what was done to Asabi
They
last
only
time
went
around
and
in
enjoyed
2009.
after
They
they
are
have been
moving
paid for.
on some information. Let's give the police the opportunity. Let them go on. Meanwhile, in Parliament, we are also going to be privy to whatever new information Honorable Katie Hammond has on the issue. So there's still a long way to go. People should be patient. Is that when you mention bones, old women just start to shiver. So I mean, my friends on the minority side should just
today,
take it easy and then
we're told,
we'll see
according
how
to what the
goes.
press reports are,
Yeah,
the
just
chairperson
making
of the
noise.
Electoral Commission, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, is expected to appear before a select committee of Parliament today to brief or respond to questions about perceived internal wranglings in the management of the Electoral Commission. And what do you make of all the things that have been happening so far?
I think that they are very unfortunate. Having been very active in the last two elections, the processes and how our elections are organized in this country, you think that the EC is one of the institutions that should be free of any sort of doubts and all that. We have to build confidence in an institution like the EC. And for the revelations over the last couple of days, it makes some of us quite worried. Much as this is a very unfortunate situation, I think both sides, whether coming from the chairperson of the commission, Charlotte Osei, or her deputies, I think that there are issues that need to be investigated. We have to look into some of these things. And then as Ghanaians, I'm hearing this morning that Mrs. Charlotte Osei is going to court on some of the issues. I think it's in her right. She deserves, and as a Ghanaian, she deserves to be heard. She's doing the right thing by going to court. The others are also making allegations, and we shouldn't just leave it at that. It also offers us an opportunity to have a real look at the Electoral Commission, how chairpersons are selected, how commissioners are selected. In the case of Charlotte Osei, when she was selected, we saw the issues people had with her selection and all that. Whether we have to reform the way the selection process actually goes on and who actually can take a position like that, there are things that this case offers that opportunity for us as a nation to debate it and make sure that we get it right, because we can't afford for an institution like the EC to be dented the way it's going. We have to do something. Coming to Parliament, I know that there's been a question in Parliament for a while now, and that question was specifically on the proceeds of the monies journalists had to pay to cover the elections, and monies that people had to pay to get replacement of the ID cards prior to the elections.
Which one? The 10 cities and the 5
10
cities?
cities and the 5 cities. That's
why she's coming to Parliament.
That's what Honorable Eugene Entry asked, and that is what is going to be interrogated. As to the wranglings, I'm sure that the petition went to the presidency, and people are thinking that Article 146 had to be activated, or it's already activated. And let's see the process to its conclusion. If the Chief Justice actually gets a prima facie evidence and she thinks that this case should go on, I think that as a country we have an opportunity to have a real look at our Electoral Commission, make sure that it becomes one of the institutions that will stand in the middle for a polarized community or society like ours. I think that what's happening there is very unfortunate, but we should actually investigate.
I think my brother has indicated the main purpose is the proceeds from their internally generated.
But let's go
funds.
beyond it and look at the subject,
So
because now it's a topical issue.
Yeah,
of the Electoral
I'm still
Commission.
coming there. So the main purpose is in respect to the proceeds from their internally generated fund. It was a question. In respect to what is going on, I think that first there was a petition to the president. We are still looking for the petitioners, because as we speak today...
No, the petitions have been published, 17 names.
They have been published.
Yeah, their names have been published.
So now we have the petitioners. Yes, but the way they came, it was faceless. Because I believe that if you have a grudge, and it's not only EC, Electricity Company of Ghana, when the workers have a problem, They came out openly, expressed their views. 2, Yoko is investigating, and in every institution, even human beings as individuals, it's not every time everything is smooth. So as human beings, we need to constantly reconcile, do things in a manner that we can achieve. The issue is in respect to the call for her to resign. I don't see the need for her to resign. No. If you say it is incompetent and she didn't do any good job and we want to investigate, we need to investigate the 2016 elections. Because if an incompetent person handles an election and that one, oh, is good, but let's look at this, he's incompetent, get rid of him. Let's go back and investigate.
See, the reality, I'm coming with something. The chairperson.
Let's make this point. But that's belittling the matter.
No, not belittling. It's pick and choose.
Right.
And for the elections, okay. Oh, but she's incompetent.
Have you read the 27-pointer?
Not all.
Okay, you haven't read all.
Yes.
The 27-pointer responses to the petitioners. Have you read?
Not all.
Okay, you have read some, or you have heard of some.
I've heard of some.
Okay.
Now, 2, yes, she breached procurement processes. The process should go on. It can go on. It's like an investigation, like an audit, to be able to establish. So, if, for example, a bossed MD can do what he did, and we call for his resignation, and we feel that there's no need for him to resign, investigation can go on while he's at work. Then we turn around here and we say this person must resign.
But the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is not the MD of BOST.
Let me tell you something.
The roles those two institutions play are different.
What Yoko is pursuing is financial matters.
And the criteria by which the two of them are appointed is different.
Let me tell
you. The way they are treated,
it is not just Yoko.
And the regulations that
the boss MD should have gone faster
in our country.
And that is an example.
Has been sent to the president.
Let me tell you.
Activate Article 146. Let's do that in.
People are calling for her resignation. I'm talking about her resignation in relation to others. You appointed.
So you are saying that
the MD. There is rot. You say, oh, he can be there. He won't interfere with the activities that
you are saying the criticism or the treatment should be the same.
It should be the same.
Okay.
2, we're in this country. A finance minister issued a bond, 2.25 billion, without cabinet approval. The attorney general came out. I'm coming. The attorney general came out.
Once you approve the budget.
As at that time, there was no cabinet.
Once you approve the budget.
There was no cabinet.
Once you approve a budget, once you approve a budget in Parliament, and you approve the level of deficit, you have approved whatever borrowing or whatever arrangements there are. For the whole of the year. So he didn't have to come back to
but to counter what you're saying, you're not saying that because there's because a budget expenditure and line items have been approved, you're not saying that you can just go about spending.
No, you can't go about just spending. No, you can't go about spending. That level of borrowing is been approved in the budget.
You're not saying that because you have a statement of accounts and expenditure, you're not saying that because the line items are there, you have the power to just go spending without approval.
It is not just. It is not just that level. Those levels are embedded in the budget. It is not just. We only need a finance person. It is embedded in the budget.
Prospectus. So there is a need to finance a deficit in the budget.
That's okay. Can we move on to the time and leave the bond issue alone?
Now, I'm just indicating. All this, Parliament, you didn't seek Parliament approval. That one, you feel that the Foriata can still be finance minister.
But the issues are not the same, are they?
No, but look, they are almost the same. You don't pick one and say different rules should apply here. If that same financial issues are dealing with him, you ask him to resign.
Okay.
And you let us know that
now the petition is before the president. The president would do an assessment and call his experts and his own advisors. They'll look at the petition and he'll be given the best advice. Do you think now it should be pushed to the CJ for the CJ to...
The president has no option than to forward it to the CJ.
Okay.
It's when the CJ initiates action. Then we will follow up to see how it goes.
Yes. I think
but beyond that, that's okay. But beyond that, shouldn't we be worried that the revelations from both camps is indicating a sort of management of the Electoral Commission of our country, which creates a semblance of apparent animosity between the protagonists, a lack of proper coordination,
yes,
a lack of proper following of laid down management practices, proper cohesion among those that should be managing the electoral body of
From what is coming out, it's becoming evident there's some internal wrangling, and that need to be addressed, and need to be addressed with the agency that it needs. I fully support that we need to address it quickly and to ensure that there is complete reconciliation, cooperation among the management of the Electoral Commission. That one fully. Because if things are not going well, at the end of the day, what happens?
Okay.
The commission collapses. So we need to, the moment it has come out, and we are now aware, I expected Peace Council, National Peace Council, and other organizations.
Well, they have now called, as well as the Ghana Integrity Initiative, they call for an intervention.
Yeah, it's very important that it's human. This is human element, and you need to sit them together, see how you can bring them together. It's very, very important.
See, let's not forget.
Is she appearing before the plenary or a committee?
I am not too sure, but
You're not sure?
It's a question. If it is a question,
question, then it's a plenary.
Question. I don't know whether we had the power to actually bring her to the plenary to answer this question.
On the floor?
On the floor. I'm not too sure. If I'm not too
you
sure.
You are thinking it to be a committee?
I'm thinking.
Because she's not a minister, is it?
Then if it is a committee, it's not a question then.
I'm not too sure, but I know that question is being.
Because according to we're told that
worry.
she will brief, will appear before legislators to respond to questions about the heated internal wranglings. Yeah, so I'm sure it could be a committee.
But you see, on this whole issue, let's not forget.
Whereby the media is not allowed.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be a close
maybe close sitting.
So she can appear before the committee of the whole, but only a close sitting.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also a possibility.
Yeah.
You see, I was going to make a point.
Yes.
When this petition started, I think last week Thursday, let's not forget how quick the minority held a press conference to defend the commission. They were so quick.
There was no any press conference.
They were so quick. They led by the leader.
It was on the
now
floor of Parliament.
see what
Conference.
Now see what we are in. We think that look, they are all Ghanaians, and there are issues and allegations. Let's investigate them. Let's look at them properly and let's deal with them, because we can't afford for an institution like the EC to be dented like the way it's going. I just hope that
it wasn't a press conference.
But even on the floor of the House.
But based on your criticism,
led by the minority leader. Led by the minority leader.
You thwart her effort to make sure she even fail in conducting successful elections.
But we didn't
become the first suspect.
We didn't create the 1,000 polling stations being alleged.
Did we? You people were doing everything possible to discredit her.
We didn't award the STL contract. I don't think that somebody put a gun to Charlotte Osei's head to award a $21 million contract to STL.
We now know that she's...
we had issues with the logo.
Through her lawyer, she's proceeding to court and filed a defamation suit against the lawyer, Maxwell Opoku-Agyemang.
Well and good.
That's the rule
Very
of law.
well.
We are in the rule of law.
We are supportive, totally supportive of that.
We're building the governance.
Because her image is being tarnished.
Yeah, based on what...
I see that she's not a good manager.
That they've made it... Yeah. She wants to
they are making her lose
image.
credibility in the right eye of in the eye of right-thinking members of the public.
Yeah. I think that is the right.
I mean, it's totally her right, and I think that
to clear
the right
your image.
We are very
supportive.
Right, I personally am very supportive of that action. I think that it's but on the flip side, the lawyer has published 17 names.
You know some of the names. I didn't cite them before coming on air.
Oh, I have seen the names, just that I can't say, but I have seen the names.
Yeah,
do
you know a couple of them?
I can't.
Maybe some of them could be.
And I don't want to sit here to mention it. No.
You're afraid.
I've seen it. Listen, I'm not afraid, but just that you.
I didn't know you were afraid. The way you were talking.
You can't push me to say what I'm not ready to say.
The way you were talking, I didn't know you were afraid.
Oh, Electoral Commission.
You are afraid you will be sued for defamation.
Oh,
Member of Parliament. Anyway,
multimedia would
at that time, we'll see whether your immunity is intact. Because you are advocating that there's nothing wrong with Kwabena Donko's house being visited.
You should wait.
All right. But we have to go to Tamale. And I know that I visited there about a month and a half ago. A nice place. Good morning to you. Decibel. And we know that it's not a good time for all of you. But 2 persons apparently have been confirmed dead following 4 hours of torrential rains. And it's a place you're very familiar with.
That's my second home.
That's
I
your
like
second home.
Tamale.
Right.
Too much. Yes. I feel more comfortable
in Tamale.
When I'm in Tamale.
I'm sure when you go on retirement one day, you go there.
I would like to
you go and live there greater part of the year, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. But what do you make of the current situation?
First of all, I want to extend my condolences to the bereaved family and to say that it's unfortunate. This is a natural human disaster because some of the naturally water will flow is a natural cause. And when there are impediments or the construction is not well taken, it results to a lot. My house was flooded yesterday.
Your house was flooded?
Yes.
Oh.
And it started flooding
Your family was there?
2011.
You have your family there?
Wow, in 2011, after the construction of the road and the culverts. And we complained that the culvert was too small to take the volume of water that is coming, that normally flow from Gumani.
And we're told that car belongs to a certain Hajia, Fatih Gabuni.
Yeah. Wow. So, and the point is that it has been raining for the past 3 days. So the ground became saturated, and therefore further rains, the ground is not able to contain it. Ooh. And I want to urge NADMO and the Minister for Northern Region to urgently look at the drainage situation in Tamale. It used not to be common, but of late it's becoming too common. And I will urge them to look.
Because surprisingly, a flat plain area, it means that the planning has not been, the drainage system is wrong. And the planning and the siting of buildings. I can see that there are new developments in Tamale.
There is new development coming up. And most of the waterlogged areas are now being constructed. Structures coming up there. So it becomes difficult for the water to flow smoothly. And the exit point is also a problem, as I indicated. If the culverts are not properly constructed and the size is big enough to take volumes of water, there's always a backlash.
Is that the culvert you're talking about? Or just one of them?
I don't know. I cannot tell from
You cannot easily identify.
Yes. Because there was an old culvert that was there. Okay. And when the old culvert was there, around full, we don't have such a huge flood there. But once it was constructed and replaced with a smaller one, we've had challenges at full.
Since 2011?
It was done in, I parked in 2011. Okay. And 2015 was when the culvert was constructed, actually. Okay. Then 2016, I had my first flood.
In your house?
In my house. And 2017, the same.
So your house is located, is usually targeted by the flood waters?
From backlash. It's not able to go through the... This thing. And it's pathetic.
Yes.
And yesterday's one was too much.
Is your family safe?
Safe.
Okay.
Safe, inshallah.
What do you make of this?
Yesterday's one was
too much. Condolences to the bereaved.
Not a good thing. To residents of Tamale, we say good morning to you.
My big brother Musa Superior, we share in their grief. I hope that the victims are able to get some support as soon as practicable. As a nation, I think that these are occurrences that will happen. Yeah. No matter how
even in China,
even in world developed
in China, they're recording in some of the provinces.
Sometimes some of these things do happen, but when they happen, immediately we have to reduce the suffering of the victims and then look at ways in which, I mean, it's not common to be hearing such news from that part of the country. Tamale flooding, it's not what circle flooding, yes, fine, we could, but Tamale flooding is not what we're too used to. We hope that whatever construction defects there are, like what the Honorable is saying, will be corrected as soon as practicable, so we don't experience such floods again. It's all about planning. Like he's saying, hitherto marshy areas and all that because of construction and development and
I
lack
think
of,
that the
lack of
development
planning.
in Tamale needs to be controlled.
It's very fast.
Because the last time I went,
Tamale
I
is
saw
very
some
fast
beautiful,
development.
I saw some beautiful housing developments coming up, and I
Amazing.
said, yeah.
Amazing.
Tamale
We
is
shouldn't
one
sit
of the
down for it to
fastest
be like what we
developers.
have in
Yeah.
Accra.
City in,
I mean,
in
you
West
go there,
Africa.
some of the, especially when you go into some of the houses are amazing.
Yeah.
We should watch it. We shouldn't
And I
sit
think
and-
that if you know you're investing so much, then the city authorities need to make sure that the right things are done to make sure they check the development.
I
the
believe in the
spate of
capacity of
development.
Musa Superior. I'm sure he'll be up to the task. I'm sure whatever
Sir,
he needs to be. I
Sir.
trust him so
yo,
much. I
Honorable
believe that
Musa
he'll be able to.
Superior.
And I want to believe it's not only the work of the municipal assembly. How much
Metropolitan.
money do they, metropolitan, how much money do they need? The Minister of Works and Housing,
Needs to play a critical role.
they need to play a very critical role.
Okay.
There are some of the drainage, even if they take the IGF and the common fund of the
the whole assembly, they will
metropolitan
not be able
assembly,
to
it
do
cannot
it.
do
Yeah.
anything.
It can't even do
But
half.
it's, it's also
so we
about
need
leadership
a huge intervention
from the Ministry of
from
Works.
the
Massive
ministry.
investment in
Yeah.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right.
Because Tamale is the northern regional capital. It's a hub
Is the hub.
of trading activities and administrative activity in
Well,
the
the
northern
president
part
has
of the country.
already sent a high power delegation to the bereaved place. Have a look
We'll
at
see
it
how
and
that
report
goes.
to
We
And
should
us.
follow with an action.
All right.
We will.
Thank you. Thank you.
As always, you know, we are action.
You are always
oriented.
in a hurry,
We are
but
action
not ready.
oriented. So it's
You are
like
always
Okay.
in a hurry, but
Thank
not
you very
ready.
much.
We're already there, looking at what could be done.
Adam
to
Mutawakilu,
avert the sufferings
Adam
of our
Mutawakilu is a
people.
member of parliament for Damango, and then also Musa Fusaini, no, Inusa Fusaini,
No,
Isa,
Isa
Hussein.
Fusaini.
Fuseni Isa.
Okay. Isa Fusaini.
Oh,
Isa
Hussein
Fusaini.
No, Fuseni Isa.
Fusaini Isa is Okankwe North member of parliament. Thanks for joining me. Fusaini
Pleasure.
Isa
Isa.
Fusaini.
No,
Fusaini
Fuseni
Isa.
Isa. Yeah, Isa is my
Isa
grandfather's
Fusaini.
name.
Fusaini
And
Isa.
Fuseni is my name.
All right. Thank you very much.
Great.
And
It's my pleasure.
but we also know that I don't know, perhaps maybe I can pick your thoughts on this before you go. There are concerns being raised about rancors that seem to have happened when national service persons were registering their names for the new posting by the National Service Secretariat. It resulted in, I'm told, some beatings and some difficulty. It's been posted widely on not only the mass media but also on social media. So we have the Deputy National Coordinator or Director for the National Service Scheme, Henry Nanabuache, known to many of us as Nanabi. Good morning to you, Nanabi.
Roland, good morning. How are you, my brother?
Yes, please. Those incidents, where did they happen?
First of all, very unfortunate. Like yourself, I've also seen the video on social media has gone viral. We have issued a statement to that effect. We have apologized to the general public, Ghanaians for that matter. We have also apologized to the National Service Personnel Association, NASPA, and then most importantly to the affected prospective National Service personnel. This was very unfortunate, and unfortunately we have the footage. And as much as we have apologized, we are not just going to relent. What we're going to do is that we are going to push forward, because the situation was very bizarre. I saw the video, and then out of no provocation, if somebody should receive such attacks from a security personnel, you see, this is not the nature of Ghana military service. This is not the nature of Ghana police service. This is just an individual act. So certainly this cannot be said that that is how Ghana military service, that is how Ghana police service. And such an exercise to rule, and certainly you will need the presence of the military or the police service or the security agencies. It is very key because of crowd management. But from the footage, you realize that it was out of no provocation. And certainly because everybody is eager to register. And there is this erroneous, perception that they have already conceived it. That, you know what, we have to register in the first day or probably the second day. So it appears there's that huge clamor, there's that euphoria. Everybody wants to register. So you see such huge crowds. So even in Accra, what we did was even to decentralize it. Last year and then the years before, we never had it. But this year, we even have 6 registration centers. 6 registration centers. We've created 5 additional ones. In a central region where we also have some huge numbers, we have also created some additional ones. So it was very unfortunate. We never anticipated that. But as I said, we still need the presence of the security agencies. So we have actually reported the matter to the leadership of the security agencies, i.e., the Ghana Military Service and Ghana Police Service as well. And for me, what is important is that, and from eyewitness accounts, I mean, it appears one military person was saying that National Service never even got permission from us, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, this is an exercise that is in the interest of the nation. And you see, interestingly, some National Service personnel will also be posted to our military installations. We have so many National Service personnel, and this year we've also posted quite a number, a lot, nationwide, to support them administratively, to support them with any initiative they bring on board. So it is interesting for any person, an individual. Obviously, I know it is not the view of Ghana Military Service. It can never be the position of Ghana Military Service or Ghana Police Service. So for an individual to be saying that, and so what, we don't care. I mean, exhibiting some needless bravado. So we have actually reported the matter. It is very unfortunate. Once again, let me use your very huge medium to apologize to the affected persons and then to the general public. So we don't condone it at all. We rather condemn it in no uncertain terms. And we apologize unreservedly. Roland.
Mr. Nanabuachi, in this day and age, with the availability of technology, why can't we have our service personnel who have been posted sitting in the comfort of their homes, their cars, or wherever they are, and just register and go to their posting areas? Why should they come in queue?
No, this is a very legitimate question. Now, what is done is that we are moving on. In fact, this year we've introduced something different. But you see, you cannot consolidate all the reforms you want to bring on board and throw it out there. It may confuse the system. So especially when you are moving from the traditional way of registering, and you want to modernize it. For instance, this year, what we did was that, traditionally, when the postings come out, you have to check in on the internet. So if you probably stayed in an area where you don't have internet service, it means you have to travel far. For instance, in my village, Sekshe, in a central region, you have to travel probably to Afijase or to Kumawu. My boss comes from Yagaba. You have to travel to Wale. So for this year, what we did was that we sent them text messages. It was novel. That's never happened before. You'll be there in your home, and then you receive text message on your phone that you have been posted here. And then we also developed a short code, the *714#, which is also an interactive code. You go there and then check postings, check payments, check others. So we introduced these ones. And then also, before, you have to register online, get your PIN code, then you proceed to ADB Bank, go and pay your 40 cedis, and then you are given your NSS number, and then you finalize the registration. So an aspect of the registration processes or the processes are done online. Now, the registration processes, there are some, we have received quite a number of views. There are some that can also be done online to limit the human interface to, get rid of the congestion. But as I said, when we took over in February, the processes had already begun. And then it is going to be imprudent for you to throw out all the reforms that you want to bring on board in one particular year when the system is ongoing. So from next year, certainly as we've seen some changes this year with the introduction of the text messages and others, there is also going to be that possibility of us getting rid of this congestion online. But there are some aspects that will also certainly will need the physical presence of the person. For instance, the biometric registration and stuff. And then sometimes too, because we want to limit impersonation, there's also the process where you need to show a valid ID card.
Okay.
So we will be having all these reforms, and then hopefully next year we'll get there. This year we started quite very well by introducing these novel, stuff into our processes. I hope next year we will do that. So it is a legitimate concern we have taken on board, and we are working on it. Thank you very much for such a suggestion.
Well, thank you very much, Henry Nanabuachi. And just some last word on this one.
They want to blame
that this action is not wasn't authorized by the top management
No,
of
no,
the
no,
military.
no. That's what
no,
I'm saying.
this is an individual action. I know that the military, when they accept you, they accept you. When the top say no, they will give you the signal. Now, second one is why do they rush? I know my good friend Honorable Mustafa is doing quite well. I've had interaction. I've been there myself.
Okay.
And I believe that
that's the executive director.
Yeah, I believe he's on top of the job. The point of why they rush and what NSS need to do is because most of the organizations, you post 10 people there, the organization says, I need only 2. Now they rush in the first day because you have to be the first to go and present your form to that organization. And that normally makes them to rush on the first and second days to make sure they are the first to go. As I said, I know of certain organizations, they posted 15 people there.
More than they need.
And the organization say, oh, I need only 5. What happens today? 10. 10. That means you have to go back for reposting.
Okay.
So that normally makes them to rush. If NSS can make sure that if 2 people are posted to this organization, that is the required number of people. And they know that when I go and register tomorrow, I will still be able to get where I want to be. I think that is why they rush normally at the first day of
Reminds
registration.
me of the placement for students going from junior high school to senior high school. Sometimes over placement.
It's also but you see, we should see this exercise as national service. And sometimes because of the rush and people wanting to stay in Accra and all that, that's what causes. So they're in a hurry to make sure that they register to get their preferred institution. I remember that when I finished A-level, I was just about maybe 17 years in 1994. I actually opted to go as far as Techiman, and it was an experience. To date, I still live with that experience of having to. And so people should just be, it's national service. They should be ready to serve in whatever capacity they are called upon. But then again, you see, some of those arrangements is because of the experiences of the NSS. Not too long ago, we saw the salary issues and all that. So this time, the biometric registration, it's chaotic when you're dealing with this large number of people. I know Honorable Mustafa and Anabuache and Gifty are doing a yeoman's job, and I think that I will encourage them to go on to ensure that the right things are done. But then again, the processes should be simplified so we don't see incidents like this. Like I will agree with my senior colleague that this action of the military, I think that is an isolation and it's an individual and not the institution. So I think that we should deal with it at the individual level and not attack the whole institution of the military.
Well, true, very much. I think we'll take it that way. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And now we have to go live to Parliament. Our correspondent is there, Joseph Opoku Gakpo. And good morning to you, Joseph. We're told that the EC is expected to appear before Parliament. Where is she supposed to appear? Is it the plenary or a committee?
So, Parliament, more like the plenary, except that they will not be sitting as a session that will be open to members of the public. They call it the Committee on the Whole. So it's a situation of the entire Parliament, all 75 members, sitting as committee. And so this is something which will not be open to public between the MPs themselves and she, Madam Charlotte, say. The expectation is that when that meeting is done, if the MPs find it appropriate, thing that other members of the public should be aware of, then they would brief the media and let the public know. But this is to be a closed session, and so Congress would not be allowed. It would just be herself, her officials, and members of Parliament.
At the end of the day, what will be the critical issues that will be looked at? Is it because of the ongoing wranglings and perhaps the brouhaha?
You would know that there's more like a culture of assault here in Parliament, where if any member of Parliament has concerns about anything, it's possible to inform leadership, and whoever the fellow who is supposed to be in charge of that organization is, whether it's a minister or maybe this case the head of the Electoral Commission or the head of a government organization, then individual will be summoned to appear. Usually ministers do that, and the people who are standing, they come to the floor and it's an open session. In this particular case, a member of parliament, the MP for the Southern constituency, Eugene Chientry, concerns that he found out that when you look at the 2016 budget and also the 2017 budget of the Electoral Commission, there were some monies that came in for them ahead of the elections. Two main things: the renewal of accreditation card, the granting of media accreditation. You recall the Electoral Commission was charging around 10 cities that. This was something ahead of the elections. And also the people who have placed their voters ID card, you would recall an amount of cities was being charged, and lots of people did that across the country. The MP indicates that he didn't find in the 2017 budget how this money was expended at the level of the Electoral Commission when their budget was brought to the floor. So it's based on that question. To say should appear before the House to explain how those amounts were spent. And we've also gotten an indication that beyond her coming around for that, there's a second question being put.
Well, we seem to have gotten that difficulty in the transmission. We'll try to re-establish that line, but in the meantime, we have to go forward on that.